Dragon.
Yeah.
Dragon.
And is it live yet? Is it live? It
Pretty sure.
doesn't. Oh, there it goes. It's live.
Here we go. For some reason, I don't have you subscribed to, which I know I already did once.
And is it live
Because I
yet?
had to type in your name. Pretty sure.
Hello, people. Oh, there it goes. It says live.
Here we go. For some reason, I don't have you subscribed to, which I know I already did once.
And is it live?
Because I had to type in your name.
Hearing shit. There it goes.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, I was hearing the YouTube channel. That's what it was. And hello, people who are there. This is Dragon and Rezakai.
Just call me Rez.
Rez. Like low res.
Yep.
And I will be coloring Spider-Man. Drawn by
YouTube had unsubscribed me.
Yeah, it does that a lot. I don't know why it keeps on, like, unsubscribing people. I think it's trying to silence everyone.
Alright. Let me know if you hear yourself echo in the background. I'm trying to test out some settings here. Since I haven't live streamed in, I don't know, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I haven't live streamed, and then all of a sudden I was trying to set things up. And it's like, no, that's not up to date anymore. You gotta up to date it. Like really, I just want to use the damn thing.
Yeah. Oh wow, what program are you using? Is it
for what?
To draw your Spider-Man.
Oh, this is Photoshop.
Oh yeah. I haven't used digital art in so long. Like I don't even know what Photoshop is really up to, or I don't know, getting a pad with the light pen, but I don't know which one to get. So
I have no idea how to help you with that. Because I don't have one. But I've heard most people go for the Cintiq if you want a screen. I'm using just mouse and keyboard.
I gotcha.
And this is Adobe Photoshop CS6, which is like 2005, 2003, somewhere around there.
You should tweet this out, by the way.
I already tweeted out.
Oh, that's good. Good. Let's see who we get.
Yeah, I didn't check. Can you see the chat on the
on
YouTube?
On the YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm on the YouTube channel now.
I mean, in the video.
Oh no.
Okay, that's good. Because I have a program via Restream where it lets me see the chat from both Twitch and YouTube.
It's high fancy electronic in there, Dragon.
It's the only way to do it if you only have one screen to work with.
I only have one or two. I didn't know you could do that. See, when you're an old man like me, no one has any idea. I don't know. I just we can talk to each other. Let's try to sell some stuff. So that's how it usually goes down.
Yeah, it's funny because what's his name? Gary Shipman sort of has the most advanced setup of everyone, and he's completely has no clue what he's doing, but somehow he's managed to get the most advanced setup.
Oh wow! It's like when my old man went into Best Buy when computers were starting to finally catch on to the mainstream for going online and stuff. He walks in there, never couldn't use a thing. He goes, give me the most expensive and most powerful machine you got. And walks out there with a $4,000 computer to get on and read emails with. It's all he can do.
It's fun dealing with people that don't have a clue about technology.
Well, yeah. He eventually caught on later, and anyway, it was hilarity ensued because me and my brother loved it. We had a sweet computer to use for about 3 or 4 years there. Anyway, Why are you drawing Spider-Man for?
Just because I'll post it up tomorrow on Twitter. It helps with advertising a little bit because then I can link it to. I can put a tag for like Spider-Man, and if anyone looks at Spider-Man, and then they'll see advertising that I put in there.
Oh, nice, nice.
That's
So
why I've been doing the Shazams. It goes to the drawn and quarter thing, but then it can also link to the Shazam movie, and then also have check out the Veil War in there, and it'll, if anyone actually reads it, they'll see.
gotcha. Which I plan to read it. I plan to. I did not know that you were having part of it in the modern time. I didn't realize that until I looked at it until I saw the guys at the control panel, and I was like, "There's actually you're having parts of the story set in the modern time." Because remember we talked about the Veil War way back in what was it, 4 or 5 months ago, maybe a little longer than that.
Maybe. I mean, it's all said in modern times, but no one seems to realize
Yeah, I
that.
don't
They see the
because
orcs and goblins, and it's like, it's fantasy. It's like, no.
yeah, I mean that's the reaction. I want to hear more. I want to get more of it. Like I know I read the synopsis over on the Indiegogo. Like, well, Luke Perry died last night. So did Keith Flint.
That was an interesting transition right there.
I happened to it gave me a remote on my screen. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I
Uh,
saw just a second ago too that Luke Perry died, and I was like, is that for real?
yeah,
I
he's
don't
only
know.
52.
I didn't really check, and then like whatever, don't care. It's Luke Perry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was anyway, back to non-crazy things, like orcs and goblins attacking through the normal present day time space. Um, I was thinking, I was reading the synopsis on Veil War, and do the modern day humans have a main character that's used?
Sort of yes, sort of no. It's the villain of the story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The woman, if you've seen her in any of the stuff, that's the villain. And no heroes pop up until next issue, if I get that far.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
All villain issue.
I mean,
Uh,
they're sort of villains. She's pretty much Hillary Clinton, and I didn't plan it that way, but it's the sort of her political stances and everything. So that's the easiest way to describe her.
well, I might have voted for her, maybe. Who knows? Uh, I don't. I don't. I don't know. I don't really follow either too hard left or right, but yeah, I wasn't. I don't know. I'm not. I haven't really felt the need to vote for anybody hardcore in like I don't know since 2000 when they mucked it all up. So I was like,
I don't vote. They're all like all the candidates are pretty much the same. If I would have voted it, I would have voted for Obama both times he was up, and then I would have voted for Trump.
would have voted for Trump. I might actually have to get up and. I don't know if I'm going to support him the second time, but I did support Obama rather than what's his name, Romney, because I was not a big fan of Romney. I didn't mind McCain and Palin. I just thought they were just railroaded by the media, and that's when I really kind of gave up. Like, all right, it's obviously not going to be fair to anyone. So I don't know. It all became a big shit show, and I decided it was not really going to be worth it. And then when God Emperor won, I was like, oh, looks like they've pulled the wool over the media's eyes. Who knew? So I don't know. It's just entertaining.
Well, everyone says saying that no one could have predicted Trump. I was like, I predicted it over a year ago, before that was all before he won. So
Yeah. It's I had no idea. I was like, because I couldn't believe. Well, Yeah, I can't. I don't know. It was just coming up like, oh, but then when I actually paid attention to some of the stuff, because I thought, most of the stuff he's saying is rhetoric, then he decided, like, oh, well, he's willing to do some of the crap that, we've always talked about but never want to get to. Let's run with it, Orange Man. Run with it. Well,
yeah, pretty much.
All right, Vale. Well, there it is. Finally, I got it back up on the screen here. Hey, who's your artist on this, by the way?
Can't say, cause it's been a long time since I've been in contact with those guys, and I don't know their stances on anything. And I know some of them do have a career, but uh, I don't know what they're at, and I don't want to fuck up their career.
Also, this is before the movement really got traction in CG.
Yeah, this was made back in 2000. Well, it was. We were done working on what's there in 2010.
Oh wow! Did not know. Oh, you have a Teespring store too. Here, you need to put that in the YouTube. I think we just. Are you still there?
Yeah.
YouTube channel just started going really lagging.
I should have put a link in there.
Yeah,
I
you
gotta
should.
figure out how to do that.
I think here. I'll see if I can do it in the chat for it. That's what I was gonna do, but.
Well, I mean in the description. So I'm not sure if my settings are set so you can't post links or not. Shouldn't be. I haven't changed any of that stuff.
Oh, let me. There you go. Well, I guess it's lagging. Let me. There it goes.
Yep, I see it. Oh, the Teespring store.
I always wanted to. So this is dude back in 2010. You said?
Yeah, I had the idea in like 2003, and it was supposed to be a game. But then I was convinced that it would probably be a better comic. So, around 2005, I finally got to a writer and artist, and started working on it as a comic.
Really interested in it because when we talked about this, I think it was at the end of one of Mindy Wheeler's hangouts when we used to hang out like that during the wintertime. And because I want to do a high fantasy for mine too, but mine won't have like modern day stuff in it like that. Mine will be just all high fantasy with, I don't know, just some regular, much more traditional, like like your races, but much more in traditional classes and things like that. But I kind of want to see more. Well, okay, so the Goblin King, I assume this is right in one panel. Like, have you?
No, there's no Goblin
who is
King in there. There's an orc leader somewhere.
Well, that's him, I think.
Is
With
it
a
a
long
big
black
fat
hair.
guy?
With long black hair and a big little head crown plate thing.
If it's a big fat guy, then it's the orc leader.
Yeah, that's him then.
If you're talking about the armored guy, that's in the script. He's named Kylos, and he's like the leader of the goblins. But
Right.
not sure what you're seeing.
Well, I mean, it's the big guy sitting on the chair, big fat guy on the chair.
Okay, that's the orc. That's the orc chief.
Yeah, because you can tell the goblin armored guy is a goblin because he's the same shape and small like a goblin. So, looks awesome though. I also wanted to ask about the scientists at the laptop on the screen. What is all that like? Because I see it's a map of the world. I see that, right? What's all the red stuff? Because I'm trying to read the information, like the Pacific Plate, Antarctic Plate, and then he says something like Ring of 5.
Okay, the best way to figure out what that is. Do you know what the Ring of Fire is?
Yeah, around the Pacific Rim with all the land masses where they have when the plate shakes, it crashes a lot of volcanic and earthquake activity.
Right, volcanoes. disaster movie. Think that in
Oh,
that way. So
oh wow, nice.
yeah, basically the easiest way to understand it is that it's for the first part. It's sort of a for about 16 pages, something like that. It's basically a argument uh, for what's it's discussing what's happening in the current situation with in the modern world, uh, where they have uh, been convinced to get rid of all their arms, all the weapons and stuff, uh,
Like,
like all tanks, all military shit, all that stuff.
oh wow. So like it's like in like the maybe in the future somewhere where it's like I suppose a utopian future where everyone's gonna be peaceful with each other.
Well, they're kind of just that stupid. People fell for
Oh,
the line, so
that's rough. I would never ask.
yeah.
Think UA. That's you know.
Basically,
Go ahead.
it's a global disarmament thing. Uh, it's movement, something like what happened in Australia happened where they got people to disarm. Now everyone in the world is pretty much on the uh, same bullshit, and they've pretty much disarmed the entire world.
Oh man, I remember that happened. That was like what 95, 96
Yeah,
when Australia did that. Yeah.
something like that. Uh, then for the next, I don't know, maybe 16 pages after that, it's pretty much a disaster movie type stuff happens, and then after that, it's the orcs and goblin war stuff happening.
All right. So is it like do they come out of the ground?
What, the orcs and goblins?
Yeah.
No, they're in a different realm. Like they're like dimensionally split.
Ah.
Like there's the fairy realm, and then there's the earth realm. And the this was it used to be a single dimension, but somewhere along the line it became a veil was put up, a barrier, whatever, and it split humanity off from the rest of the creatures from like fantasy world and all like that. So they both like developed on their own over the course of time. I'm not sure how far back in time it happened. Haven't decided that, but it happened around like anywhere between like 1,000 and 4,000 years ago.
Uh, uh, all right.
So that goblin and orc happens in that other realm.
Oh, okay. I was thinking because if they can come, so you said they were coming across 4,000 years ago at one point, where they were stuck. They were not coming across 4,000 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
before the veil was put up, it was the same world, so they were interacting with each other just fine. To get across
okay.
the veil, you need to have some sort of magical power. Presently.
Ah, I because that makes because man, that would be awesome for like old tales, like in biblical times, and like you actually see orcs running around. That'd be crazy. Um, maybe that's why. Oh, maybe that's why. What was the old biblical tale? David and Goliath. Goliath is like half orc. That's why he's huge. Um, I don't know. I'm still kind of tired from just waking up. Oh,
I feel you on that one.
up way too late last night working on action figures. Uh, and then I went on to Fiverr, and I'm setting up this D&D campaign for my brother and my buddy. And I went on to Fiverr to try to hire some voice acting talent to voice act some of the NPCs for me. And because I don't really know that anyone with a very good, I don't know, voice acting ability. Like everyone around here is like either a plant worker or a student, so you don't get a whole lot of variety and like crisp, clear voice sounds. So if you know anybody, let me know. I will be more than happy to pay a little bit of bucks. I have to go through Fiverr or anything else because I'm trying to do this on the cheap for a personal campaign, not really kind of paid project.
Oh, why are you doing getting voice actors though?
Because I want cause I like my campaigns to be high polish. I do I don't like I actually go and buy all the miniatures. Well, in this case, I buy action figures. We decided to start using action figures about a year or two ago, and I go and I build the buildings out of styrofoam. Um, there's a good set of there's a Facebook group and a guy called Black Magic Craft, and the Facebook group is the Crafters Guild for tabletop gaming. And we take like XPS insulation foam or regular dollar store foam board and strip off the paper and slowly carve and sculpt out buildings, bridges, keeps, towers, and
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
That's one of those talents that I wish I had.
I mean, I always like building stuff and messing with stuff, and I work in a plant anyway because so I'm sitting there always messing with junk, and I'm like, oh well, can take the time to. So I set it up, and we like to have like a decent set of immersion, a sense of immersion in ours, and that I'm gonna surprise them because I do the voices, right? And I'm gonna use the some cheap voice acting talent because I'm not a rich man to do some of the more major NPCs in the next campaign. Yeah. So if you want to you know anybody and or want to possibly participate, let me know, Dragon. I'll set it up because
Not
I got
anyone that I know of.
yeah. See, I wish I knew some better voice acting talent. I watched a Star Wars video fan made the other day about the Rancor Keeper when he's a child, and like it has Mary Elizabeth McGlynn and Steve Bloom as some of the voice acting talent for the droids in it. And I'm like, that's top tier voice talent, and they did it for a Star Wars fan film. My word. So no, they had to get paid.
Yeah, I know there's ways to do it. You can contact their uh the whatchamacallit, the agents, and a lot of times they'll more than likely do it like on the cheap. But I don't know. I haven't had the need for doing that. I've tried to do voice acting before, but I can't set up mics properly.
I mean, I have I have a few decent mics. I don't have an area to do it anymore because I used to do it. Like I said, I used to be able to voices, and I used to record everything and then like set the computer up so as we're tabletopping, and if you want to listen to an NPC, you can do it out because my buddies have a bad habit of just asking the same question to the NPC over so they can remember what the answer is, right? And that gets tedious and larynx hurting after a while. So I started recording it, and then I would do the different voices and stuff like that. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'll just Fiverr says it has cheap voice acting talent for like as little as like $5 and $10. I'm gonna also do some of that. So, but then I go there and they're all like, not $5, not $10. They're slightly higher.
Yeah.
No.
I love looking at Fiverr because you go in there, it's like, oh, that's like $5. Seems like I can afford that, and then go in there, it's like, yeah, that's only if you want the shittiest thing possible. Really, we charge like, $100, $200 for anything.
Yeah, that's like me. That's why I'm like, oh man. So I might have to find some voice tier talent that'll hey, can you do this for like $40? There you go. There you go. Just give it to them and give them about I don't have like a lot of dialogue, maybe a couple hundred words, but I want to set up a decent little campaign. I That's why I love when you're coming out with Veil War. It's like, oh, orcs and goblins, fancy stuff. Gonna love it. Did you ever think about doing miniatures for it or anything like that?
Yeah, but I can't get quotes for it, and I can't get because for some reason the people wouldn't give me quotes. But that's a whole different story. But yeah, I was thinking that it would be a good idea to get goblin miniatures. I mean, it's a simple thing, and you could just like put out a whole bunch of different little mini ones. But I couldn't figure a way to do it.
Well, I mean, there's some ways to. No, was this back in like 2010 when you were doing this?
Sort of. I mean, yes and no. Uh, it was between 2005 and like 2010 when I was
Okay.
working on this. So,
Because I mean, there's been jumps in 3D printing. Like I know a couple guys on Facebook that if we set up an STL file, they would do it for like, I mean, whatever the resin costs and shipping, and then I can probably set you up with somebody.
oh, that was the thing. It's like I know it's easy to do it. It's just I couldn't figure out how to what the price tags and all like that was, and so I couldn't uh, figure any of that information out. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna do it as simple as possible.
Well, I'll ask around. I know a few guys that'll, because that's something big that I've been getting into to help curb my bloody, swollen, and cut and stabbed hands from creating so many tabletop fortresses. So there's a couple guys on Facebook I'll talk to and see if they can give me a quote for you, and then maybe you can throw those in as some stretch goal tiers. I plan to do one for mine. Did you ever you played games of Course Dragon, haven't you?
Like, you mean video games or tabletop?
Both.
Sort of, kinda. I don't. I've somewhat gotten involved with tabletop gaming, as in playing, but not really. Every time I've tried, it always like falls apart.
I got you. Well, that's
Like
90% of all tabletops when they start. They're just like people are like, oh, I don't want to play this.
I,
I
I,
don't want to do it
like
anymore.
I can tell you every single time that I've tried to play. The first time, guy was trying to get me interested, and he he was doing this weird card based one, and we were gonna do a solo solo adventure type thing. First thing he did was get me into a castle with no doors. And then I looked all over the place, and there was no doors, no windows, no nothing, no escape, no key, no clues, no nothing. After about 30 minutes of nothing, I was like, yeah, fuck this, I'm done. So
That's the thing. Like, yeah, though your GM sounded like he didn't understand that. Your GM has to also understand, feel the room and patience of players and things like that. Like some players like doing that, where they spend 2 hours just getting a door to a tower. I'm like you, like when we try for 5 or 10 minutes. Is there something really worth it in this going to this tower that I have to figure out? I have to climb 80 steps and to kill myself, or
well, I have no problem with that except for the fact that there was no like clues at all.
oh man,
Like it's like I get it that you want me to find the shit, but you gotta actually give clues. And sorry about the dog. There's nothing I can do.
it's all gravy. I'm trying to think.
Let's see. The next time, was in 2003. Tried playing Vampire the Masquerade. Created the character. Got all set up. First thing that I did was shot a microwave. It blew up and killed my character somehow.
What?
Yeah, that was my reaction.
Oh man. All right. Well.
So shitty GM number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. You sound like you have some bad ones. Like I always understood that, like when you start a new own character, like anything that's usually a one-shot kill, like I don't even like we play where you don't at first you don't die, like you get knocked out unconscious, or you have a bind master somewhere on the board where if you die or you get knocked down, you respawn back there. So you just have to like go through your movements, your character back to where like, on the area. Let's go back to where your friends are. I don't know. That sounds like a GM that just was like, I don't want to go down. So
Yeah, it's. I don't even know what the fuck was up with that. I think he just hated me. So.
it happens.
Let's see. Next time it was. Try to do a game with. I think it was Naruto or something like that. With a friend. But it was obvious that I couldn't go to more sessions, so sort of just never happened. Next time after that was tried to play Call of Cthulhu. Uh, the GM, I think we got 2 or 3 sessions in, but the fact of the matter was, the guy was just doing uh, a pre-set up thing, pre-set up campaign. So it was pretty obvious where everything was going, and he was even though I had never really, I don't really like Call of Cthulhu Mythos stuff. I spent a week or two before we even started like just looking into all the information, and the other guy that was playing knew a ton of the lore and stuff like that. So the GM ended up being the least knowledgeable about everything, and it was really showing. And he wasn't a really good GM, and he pretty much just disappeared after like 2 or 3 sessions. So I was like, yay, that's great. That's another failed attempt.
Oh man, I would say you probably if you ever went online to YouTube, look up he's a D&D YouTuber called Puffin Forest, where he just animates little quirky little stories from his D&D campaigns.
Yeah, I stumble across him all the time. He's funny.
Oh yeah, he is. I kind of like take his stance on like you don't want to like you gotta fill your room. If you got a real knowledgeable player, that you don't know about, well, like don't try to like, so you'll get annoyed and/or I don't know, ego starts getting tripped over each other a lot of times when there's a lot like me. Like I'm a big, huge. I do a lot of lore into my stories, but I know my brother and my buddies aren't. We all play it. Like we all played. It's basically a homebrew version of an EverQuest game made for tabletop, and so the classes are similar and the situations are similar to D&D, but like they played it to a point, but they don't know all the back lore and things like I do, so they don't really ask a lot of questions, and I don't really try to beat them over the head with it unless they get really interested, and then only if it's more than like one guy, because when it's 3 or 4 of them playing and only one guy wants to ask like 55 questions, I'll give them 3 or 4. I'm like, all right, man, we're gonna keep it rolling because you'll kill so much time just asking questions on stuff. I'm just like, all right, man, let's roll to. We'll talk about it later.
What do
Like
you play? D&D or what? 3rd edition, 5th edition, Pathfinder.
We originally started. I played Pathfinder a while back, and I think we started with 3.5, or was it 4th edition? Because I know 5th edition was out now, isn't it?
Yeah, 5th edition is the current one.
Yeah, we stopped because we played EverQuest online, right? And then when they shut our game down because there's been like 6 different EverQuest games. 2 or 3 of them have been offline with one-player scenarios through a story, and then 3 of them have been the massive MMO games. But they shut one of them down about 6-7 years ago.
That
And
must be EverQuest Online Adventures.
oh,
That was a
PS2. Yes, you're correct. How'd you know about that? You're one of the few I've come across, right?
Because I had it. I just
Oh, nice.
couldn't get into it all that much. I didn't have the internet connection to do it or the setup to do any of the adventuring, so I played it for a little bit, but after a while, I just gave up on trying to set up everything.
I got you. Well, yeah, it was an absolute hassle just to get logged in. I mean, you are correct there. But back then there was like 2 PS2 games that could go online. That and like SOCOM Navy SEALs. So
PS2? Yeah, that's probably because
yeah,
most of the online stuff was Xbox and ironically Nintendo.
yeah, that was because it was like right. It was like 6 months right before all that stuff blew up. And like, remember at first your PS2s didn't, the little slim PS2s that were built with a modem. But if you had the fat PS2, you had to buy that brick of a modem and hook it up on the back, which
Oh
is what
wait,
we
no,
did.
it had Microsoft. It had Fantasy, Final Fantasy 11. That's right.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Fantasy Star was
Fantasy Star was
Xbox.
Xbox,
Yeah,
GameCube, Dream.
game Fantasy Star. He loved that game on console. And so when we took when it, I don't even, it's not up and running anymore. I assume it went off years and years ago.
Sort of, kinda,
Yeah.
not really, but there's a whatchamacallit, there's fan servers, and there's also there's Fantasy Star Online 2, and there was Fantasy Star Universe, which is now shut down.
Oh wow.
Fantasy
Yes,
Star Online 2 isn't available in America.
because well, it was me, my brother, I think my uncle, and a buddy. We were all playing EverQuest online on PS2. He was playing Fantasy Star, and we tried to get him to come over and play with us all, but he didn't want to. So once everything was shut down, about 4 years ago, they shut everything down about 7 years ago. But then about 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, I really started getting back into tabletop, and that's like I'm not really sure which D&D version I was playing when I got back into it.
2003 would have been 3.5 if you started around then.
Yeah, no, I didn't start till around 2015, 2014.
So
So
I'm guessing fourth edition,
yeah,
probably.
that's with edition. I
Also,
can't.
hello Elric and Abiel Parsons. If you guys want to jump in the chat, the link to the Hangout is in the description. If you want to, just it's there. But yeah, I think you probably did jump on fourth edition. But then again, 3.5 was popular for a long time.
Yeah, that might have been. Again, I wasn't setting it up then. It was a buddy that was getting us into it, so it might have been just a 3.5 because he had tons of stuff, and we were just using that because I was still D&D ignorant at that current time. And then my brother goes to me, hey, Rez, why don't we try to actually set this up for EQ? Because EQ did have a pen and paper version. It never had miniatures for tabletop, but they always did have a P&P version of the game available with games master guides, monster guides, player manuals. And I was like, well, I mean, we can, but that was for like a different version of EverQuest. That was for the very first MMO of it, EverQuest 1 from '99. And I was like, well, I mean, the world is the same. It's because EverQuest is kind of like Elder Scrolls, where it just, for the most part, it continues on, like through its different timelines, or through its different eras. The first game was set up whenever it was set up, and then the second game is set up like 500 years prior, and the third game was set up 500 years after that first game. So
Yeah, I never got into the lore of EverQuest. I know that it's set up in different situations. I think EQ2 is 500 years after EQ1. Not quite sure.
correct. That's what I still play it actually. Well, I don't really play it though. I still log in.
Well, I
At
have a
least
lifetime subscription to it if I wanted to play it,
oh,
but
you bought one of those, man. The $300 lifetime subscriptions. Oh,
not to EverQuest. It's I had it to DCUO, and they like it got transferred to all of them. It's all the
oh,
games by Sony. So now I can have a lifetime subscription to anything that like PlanetSide, DCUO, EQ2, like 3 or 4 other games.
nice. Abel Parsons is asking, is that Mark Bagley, Ultimate Spider-Man, in the chat?
This I'm not sure whether it was drawn by Art Tiver or it was just inked, but maybe, possibly.
Who's Mark Bagley?
He was the artist on Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ah,
for that team. So.
Never knew. See, I was never a big Spider-Man guy.
Oh, I
Everyone
didn't
like,
know that either. I just know that because it's come up recently.
uh,
So.
yeah, so yeah, we set up our game, and we just thought, let's just make it back in the time, because the one ours that shut down was the one on PS2, and that's the one that takes place 500 years prior to EverQuest 1. So we just started slowly buying up figures, miniatures, and we thought about making it legit, because we've seen, like, when we played tabletop with our D&D, like, some of us have our miniatures, and like we'd have a battle mat with a dry erase board, and we might have like little furniture here or there. But a lot of times, you guys would just like put a piece of paper and write "orc" on it, and have like, a bunch of little like bottle caps with the word "orc" written on them on top, and that was the orcs you fought, right? And it was okay for the general feel of what you want, but my buddy and my brother were like, "Man, I miss actually seeing stuff to fight." And I was like, "Yeah," because we were big fans way, way back in the day, in the '80s, of a game called Hero Quest.
Do I know?
If you have, you probably, how old are you, Dragon? Roughly, are you in your 40s?
Nah, 33.
It was about 5, 10 years prior to your tabletop adventures, then probably.
I'm just trying to figure out whether I know it or not from like a name or if I haven't. Because there's other games that are like very similar. Uh, what's the one for that? Oh, it's Champions Online. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Hero Quest was like online. Remember, the internet didn't really exist back in '88, '89 when we got this. It was a tabletop game similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but where it all came in one big kit for you. You had furniture, you had a battle board, you had dice, you had everything all in one. It was about $100 when you bought it back then, which is a decent price for the late '80s, by the way. Eric Hugo says, I used to play a lot of Star Wars Galaxies. Elric, I did too, man. I played it for a little bit, and then about the combat change, and then the NGE, which we all know was the death knell. Well, the game changer for it. 32 classes down to like 12. Oh, scary.
Was that the really good Star Wars game that sort of just died? Or was it the other
I
one?
don't know Star Wars games that well. I'm more a Star Wars action figure guy, so.
Because there was a really good MMORPG of Star Wars for a while, and they just killed it one day with a patch, and everyone just abandoned ship with it.
That was it. Star Wars Galaxies. That was when it was under Sony, and then later on, the current one, which is Knights of the New Republic, takes place like during the old Republic era, thousands of years earlier. It's under, I think, BioWare
Yeah.
runs that one.
Yep, I have access to that one if I really wanted to dig out all
Yeah,
my stuff for it.
yeah, yeah. Because I remember when Galaxies was happening, like everyone in the community was like, "Guys, don't do this, don't do this," and they would not listen to us. And then they did the same thing for EverQuest 2. Like they were gonna, the only thing that they wouldn't do for EverQuest 2, because they were gonna try to like remove classes and stuff just like that. And again, we're all saying, screaming, guys, don't do this. You've got people that have already too invested in their characters. They will drop this. But just like every other dev, they always knew better, and it killed their game. And then EverQuest 2 didn't do it as drastically, but it really hurt EverQuest 2's numbers, because this is back when they were still trying to compete with WoW. WoW and EverQuest 2 had both released within like a month of each other back then.
Yeah. It's funny that everyone keeps on going, it's a WoW killer. It's like, nah, that's
No,
not
there
gonna
won't be.
happen.
They won't ever. The only game that's going to kill WoW will be WoW. So when they decide to like just hurt it so much, like I played Pantheon, not Pantheon. I played what was it? Sigil games, had Vanguard later, and then there was some of the others that came out. I can't remember. There was Ion, because EverQuest 2 kept going down a really bad road of constantly messing with combat and game mechanics all the time. Every expansion, stuff would change, and in some areas, entire class killers. Like if you played a defensive warrior rather than like a defensive warrior's a guardian, whereas a more of an offensive warrior's a berserker. And
Yeah, they have that distinction in like all games, and like uh, I know in Final Fantasy, they like really were hardcore on that one. They wanted you to play a certain way, and if you didn't play that way, they didn't like it. Uh, I was one of those evil assholes that played Warrior White Mage for a long time.
plate wielding or plate wearing caster, or you just can casters wear plate by them? Because I know they started letting them do in certain instances of D&D, but I don't know. But I didn't really go to find out what, because I was too deep into EverQuest at the time.
I don't remember. I mean, they had like leather armor. Usually, they don't use plate on there.
I don't know. Again, it might be something I just heard about. I was pretty sure because there were people complaining in our game because they played a version of D&D where they let some casters wear like plate bracers or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. I don't know.
Well, you have and I think it's Pathfinder. I'm not sure about D&D because I know more about Pathfinder because I base a lot of I've looked into a Pathfinder a lot more. But Pathfinder has subclassing. You can do some evil stuff with it. Like you can set it up where you take one level of warrior and then you can just like wear plate armor all you want.
See.
By the way, if you're watching this for tips on like coloring and watching me color, I'm probably fucking up a lot.
How much Photoshop cost you, by the way?
It costs, I think, $40 a month. But this is a old pirated thing, so back when this was new, it would have cost like $500.
Oh, that's not too terrible, I guess.
And there's also whatchamacallit, discounts for students that you can usually, well, you used to be able to get.
I really need to get back into digital art. Like I said, it's been so long. I think Photoshop 3 or 3.5 was the most latest that I used it with. I always went back to pen and paper after that, or Bristol board, ink. So Sony started to kill Star Wars Galaxies even more when they fully copied WoW with talent trees, but instead of putting all the classes out at once, they put two at a time. So annoying. Yeah, I had a friend that played Galaxies that would come over to EverQuest 2 about once a week. When I was online, it should be just bits of the storm and what they did. So I remember I got the weekly update on that one. Eric, I don't know. Yeah, if it wasn't for my love of the my PS2 game, that's the reason I had to hop to the EverQuest 2, because they ended my PS2 game. Because I had played some of it like prior, and then at the end of mine,
Yeah, I stopped playing Final Fantasy because like the whatchamacallit, I got up to level 70, and the only way to progress past that point was to get into a link shell with that was exclusive, and at some point I had pissed off someone, and it just became impossible for me to progress any further because of that.
Oh wow!
Because it's like an exclusive club once you get past a certain level.
It's kind of like a rating with EverQuest. Yeah, you can go all the way to level max, but your gear is going to be just basic stuff unless you can get into a raid guild or. But luckily, no. I will say EverQuest was willing to dance with the devil many times, and people that were absolute villains throughout the server. If they were good at their class, Raiders had no Fs to give. Like, can you play a Templar a Templar that's like if someone healed through the fight of what was the Troll Warlord? I can't remember his name. They're like,
Well,
yeah,
the
all
other
right,
thing is that I was a warrior, and like the class everyone hate. Uh, they're not a really liked class, so I kind of got screwed over on that part too. So that's mainly why.
yeah. I was just
If I had played like went and played completely white mage or something like that, I probably could have gone further.
oh yeah. People like white mages or
Oh, you play white mage, you can get in anywhere
like
on that game, so
it's
it
kind
doesn't
of like
matter what you do.
kind of like our healers. Most if you could play a good cleric or a good or warders or the shamans. Good shamans were basically you could go up there and just rip anyone to pieces and like ha 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 I'm gonna just talk shit all day long and they'd still not blink an eye if you were a good shaman in the request because they could
Well, yeah,
heal.
that's the thing is a white mage is the most powerful healer in the game. So
I gotcha. Yeah, we
um, the whatchamacallit, the I think I pissed off a red mage, which is another big one. That's what happened. So
yeah we I remember this is old Uncle Rez talk here, so you're gonna might as well grab the cane and the Bengay powder ointment here to rub on me as I sit down here and talk this story. Way back in the day when I first went over to EverQuest 2, like I said, it was the Wild West. It still is the Wild West. Like you could you could have a horrible reputation on the server for like ninja looting. You can't really train anymore, which is I don't know, good and bad. I don't know what training is. Training's when you can
when
train a
you're
bunch
a
of mobs.
dick,
Yeah,
that's what it
which
is. You being a
I
dick.
used to like not like it, but then I found the comedic value of it when it happened to me one time, and I was like, "Holy crap, this was fun!" And so it's too easily to exploit for the purposes of evil rather than good in comedy. So that's why I understand why it gets removed out of games a lot, but I kind of miss it, to be honest with you.
Well,
Now if you're a
whatchamacallit, a lot of times it's accident too. It's not on
yeah,
purpose. Like in Final Fantasy, what there was a place called the Jungle and Jungle of Yotaro or something like that as a Y name. Uh, and if you go at the very beginning, that's a level up place for level 30s. But deeper in is like the level up place for level 60s. So what ends up happening is that you get these level 60s just running by and training a whole bunch of goblins to come after the level 30s. They don't care because they can just handle them, but the level 30s can't.
well, it sucks to them. It's like when we played the PS2 game, like there was like the guys would treat you just to be funny, and it was and to be jerks because they had no problem just talking that stuff and getting people. And we actually would go to this is back when the forum board communities used to be real big, 10, 12 years, but 10, 15 years ago. And there's the utter vile that people would rant about these people that would train and shit, and they just I don't know. It reminds me a lot of how the social outrage mobs work now, where they won't stop until they get their head. We had come after these guys so much. I remember one of them actually decided to come on the forum board and laugh at them. Oh man, it was an
Well,
absolute hilarity if you weren't involved in it. It was basically free entertainment. That's basically what it came down to.
well, the thing is that actually when people did train, it does give you an opportunity to act heroic if you want to. Because you can be like a warrior and just go out there, run, catch the mobs, and drag them away. And you might be sacrificing yourself, but oh well.
Yeah, yeah. See, ours was a little bit more tougher. Like our NPCs saw even like if you were buffing or healing a friend as a act of aggression against them, just because other factions worked. So if even though a guy like say he attacks 50 mobs and he's running past a group, right? Um, if they happen to run by and a healer's healing this other group's, like, I don't know, tank have what they call social aggro, they'll jump off and just. I seen once where a guy was running around. It was for some reason, again, shamans love doing this because they could heal themselves over time. And they actually had a lot of hit points, and they also could like turn themselves into bears. So you always saw these big grizzly bears or big brown bears just running through the desert or running through the forest with like a trail of like 14 or 15 miles behind them. And I remember I was doing some quest. And I remember I was on the top of a hill looking down, and there was a group down there killing a bunch of orcs at some little camp. And our orcs respawned really quick, so you could just sit there and camp at the camp and XP. And I saw in the shout chat "choo choo," which is the universal "get your ears up and look around." So I'm looking around and I see the guy. He's coming around cause I'm on a hill. He's coming around a bunch of trees, and I don't know if he actually saw this little group XP. And they were all about the same level, around late 30s, early 40s. And as he ran by, like he comes around and runs right past him, which at the angle was kind of a hairpin turn. Like, I'm at the top of this hill watching all this. You see the mobs, like the first 4 or 5 that keep on the shaman with like about 6 or 7 mobs in. The elven cleric heals their, I think it was a barbarian warrior they had, and they just immediately turned off, and all the rest of the trail that was following the shaman pull off as well, and they just annihilate that group in like 6 seconds. Oh, and then you go back and start chasing the shaman again. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that ended that camp experience really rather quickly. I felt bad for him, but I wasn't going to risk myself for that because I didn't want to die. It was like not very heroic. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it just depends on your type of person. I'm one of those people that try to save other people if I can.
Yeah, yeah. I always played a rogue in everything I played, so I was like, yeah, kind of like not really good, but not really evil. Just kind of like a middle of like a what is it called? Not chaotic evil. It's
Neutral, what is it? Neutral, or true neutral, or something like that.
yeah. I wasn't really trying to like murder anybody, but you know, if they were pretty rich, I wouldn't mind missing some gold. That was enough to keep me bars for the next 2 weeks. You know, no harm, no foul. So there you go.
Well, I'm sort of the same way. I'm neutral, but I'm more on the hero side too. So, uh,
Yeah.
where if someone pisses me off and they're a bad guy, then I'll like really go after them. But other than that, I don't really care. Or if I can help someone, I'll help them. But don't go out of my way too much for that. So,
Are there in the Veil War are only like orcs and goblins in that realm? Like, there are no like humans in that realm with them?
uh, in the first book, all you see is orcs and goblins. But there are like anything that you can imagine in fantasy will be there.
All right. Well, also
Uh,
like trolls or other stuff can be in there.
yeah, and there's humans there, but they're from like they're the King Arthur's court. Because
Okay.
they
So,
Camelot got trapped into the other side of the veil.
which is why it's not actually known where it was at in current time. Slash, it's a myth now. Slash, it could have been real. No one really knows. So,
Yeah, or at least that's what I'm going with right now because there wasn't any history that I could find in all my back notes. So I'm like, what? How does this work?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm gonna go with.
there you
So
go. Like, that's actually very well. That's a really excellent plot point, to be honest with you, because that way Arthur's court and stuff could be part of the story, and yeah, it's never been actually known where it was at because it was always thought of mythos or whatever legend. But
yep.
there's different areas people try to claim where it was at, but that's just whatever. The fact that it still has a lot, like the Robin Hood legend, right? Like multiple places in England claim to be the home of the old Robin Hood in Sherwood Forest, but exactly where it's at is still under debate. So they're like it kind of like helps feed the knowledge of it when people try to figure out where it's at, and it's still not exactly known. I you should. Well, I don't know. If you ever get a chance to add the Antikythera device, make sure that you try to get that in written somehow. Um,
Uh, wasn't really anything special about it though. The Antikythera.
yeah, yeah, but I just thought, but not once they figured it all out, like and they reconstructed it, and but at first you're like, wow, it could actually. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow,
Who
it's a
knows? Maybe,
gear. It's gear. What does a gear do? I don't know. Congratulations, you're no closer to solving the mystery.
yeah, I think it could be something they haven't figured out yet. Maybe there's some extra runes on it that does something. Who knows?
Yeah, probably can. They probably just used it for something, like a door or something. Because
Yeah, well,
a lot of our current technology, they had back in the day. It's just they didn't use it the same way.
yeah. Well, I think what is some big rich uh, corporate owner of I can't remember where he's from, but he convinced Compaq to bring in like their 3D imaging camera like sphere.
Yeah.
It's like this big metal dome slash ball. It kind of looks like an old World War II sea mine, like an ocean mine, right? With a little like spikes poking out of it, so if it hits a ship, it blows up. Only those are cameras, and then you set whatever you're going to set in the middle of it, and it just takes 3D instant high res pictures of everything from all sides of it. And they put the Antikythera device in it and did it, and for a few times, and they figured out like mostly just on a star chart with updates on the year, the month, and the Olympiad every 4 years. So that was about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago they figured that one out. Which that's cool, no. I just hoping it was somehow some ancient portal to another realm that we finally have found.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
just a calendar thingy. The whatchamacallit, there's like some cool stuff that they did back in the ancient days, like where we wouldn't think of it, and people are like, magic isn't real, and then you go and look at what they're talking about. And it's like, no, it's like what they were talking about wasn't insane. It's not like they just believed it for no good reason. Like the reason that people thought it was magic more or less is because there was people hiding the fact that some of this stuff like existed. Like one temple had they had a huge ass magnet under the floor, and so what would happen is um, somehow they used that to levitate a gigantic statue. It's like that's magical. It's like, well, today we would understand that as magnetics, but back then you see a large floating thing. That's probably magic to you.
yeah, it's understandable. Wait, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a point. I just make a noise at this point because I'm thinking about the Veil War. How many now? So you're gonna have to need to get. Are you gonna do any of the art yourself, or is it gonna be all um, assigned out to somebody?
Am I gonna do the what myself?
Artwork.
No, no, the all the art is done by someone else.
Okay.
All the art currently is done by someone else. All the fixes, I'm hiring the same artist, not the one that already worked on it, but someone else.
Oh,
But I'm not gonna say who it is. Well, I can, but I can't. I don't want to hold them down on it because if it's unsuccessful, that's like they're waiting for like 2 months and or putting aside like 2 months to fix the thing, and then it just doesn't happen.
I gotcha. Uh,
That would suck just from like I wouldn't want to be in that position, so I wouldn't. I don't want to put someone else in that position.
I gotcha. I'm trying to think about if I want to do my own art or I want to hire some. I'll probably have to hire somebody out, but I can probably give them like sketches and thumbnails on everything that I want because I can do illustration. I'll say I'm a decent illustrator, but I can't do sequential art because I suck at it. So it just takes a better eye that can capture that better than me for telling a story. Let's do mine. That's what I was asking. But like I said, I got lots of logistical side things. Like I got to be able to get some money saved up to pay the artist, to pay the everybody. So mine's gonna be like a year out. I was hoping to get it done the beginning of this year, but taxes came back and they were quite brutal to this man. So I was like, oh no, I guess it's not gonna happen this year. So,
Probably would have been worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to do a high quality. Like I liked that thick paper that John Malin used, and I kind of like want to do like a good colorist on it and someone that understands with the artwork that understands high fantasy, but yet keeping a slightly real world aesthetic for medieval times, so it can kind of blend easier. Because that's one thing it always turns me off when I played some games that want to be high fantasy, but then you go to like an elven city and they're like living in like a sci-fi designed area. And I'm like, well, it kind of took me out of it. But I want to. So I'll have to talk to the. I'll draw some mock-ups and some roughs for the artists to use, so they can maybe help them out. So maybe it'll help them save some time too. I mean, as someone who knows how slow and lazy um, artwork can be, yeah, I would love to have help and extra detailed information. So,
Yeah, it's really just trying to find out like who's good enough for it, who's who's on board with what you're actually looking to do,
mm,
and making sure that they can hit the style that you're looking for.
yeah, I that's another thing, hitting the style, because like I said, I like that. I want like it doesn't have to be overly detailed, but if it's gonna have a lot of, I mean, it's half the reason to read like a high fantasy comic is to see some of the elves and the orcs and see their armor and stuff like that, and they just get like a potato bun for a helmet. No one cares at that point. So that's why it's important to make sure to hit those things correctly. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'll figure it out after some time. Been following everyone's campaign. I was watching Ethan's live stream last night, and they were talking about Lady Alchemy and all the crap that she's having to go through. And then they were talking about Nasser.
And his ripoff of Buffy.
I wasn't going to call it that, but I thought, because it actually has her dad in it, so maybe it's not that. I don't know. Fighting monsters and stuff is cool, but
I like just from what I've seen of what he's done. I don't want to talk bad about the kid, but I would not buy any of his books if I could, just simply because I know the writing.
Well, I mean, I backed a couple of them, or plan to. I don't know. I'm not. I'm more forgiving on, because there's so many. Because I figure most stories, to some degree, have already kind of been told, depending on what kind of the issue is with the drama and plot and things. That's why I give people a little bit more leeway if they come up with something that's slightly similar to other stuff. Just,
Oh
as
yeah,
long as
being
they own it.
similar is perfectly fine. A lot of my stuff is similar, uh, that I'm hoping to put out, but just some things you wanna make sure that it's a quality retelling and ripoff or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
That's all.
Let's see here. Hey, I'm on the YouTube channel. Oh, yeah, it's locked on you on the YouTube channel. Okay. Because you're drawing. Oh, wow. You
Yeah,
got quite
it's
a.
I'm going through OBS, so
I gotcha. Oh, I don't know. It looks pretty good though. That you're the Spider-Man. I've been back and forth on
second.
stuff. Who's in the background?
Yeah.
You couldn't even save me one?
Anywho, I'm here.
Could you hear all that, or did I shut off the mic?
Somebody yelling about something food or something.
Yeah, I don't know if the mic's was muted or not. I hope it was. I don't know.
Like, I heard somebody like, "Did you eat this with it?" Like, no, they're in the fucking thing. Oh, okay. Telling me and my brother going at it. It's hilarious. Uh, we but yeah. So with Master stuff, yeah, I'm not a big, huge guy of his. I'm not really into his writing style, but I mean, maybe it'll improve. Like, I haven't, like, I was reading Jawbreakers. I got that last week, and I read it. It was okay. Some of it though was kind of forced, and I was like, yeah, it should have been longer. So I haven't got John Malin's book yet, and I got Bigfoot Bill. I'm waiting on that, so that's gonna show up in about a month or two. But I went to,
Well, what
I
I
don't
don't
know.
like is that this isn't something that's written specifically by me, so it was my concept, but I didn't write it, so
Oh yeah, who's
yeah.
your?
Again, it's one of those
Oh,
things I can't
yeah,
say.
I got you,
But then again, he hasn't worked on anything that I know of, so it's
Yeah.
not really worthwhile to even say who it is, anyways. So,
All right. Like I want to see more of the projects do good. Like,
but my ideas are I think they're way better. Like my writing is way better now, and uh, I'm just hoping that people realize that.
yeah. I mean, see, I got good concepts, but actually executing them in a writing style that's hard for me to do because I can't, like, I wrote some fan fiction for some stuff, and I realized I had 12 or 13 chapters on 6 pages. I was like, or 8 pages. So I'm like, oh man, I can't write like filler. I'm writing like comic style where something happens, you don't need all the rest of this junk, and you just go right to the next scene. Uh,
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know how to write in general that are putting these books out. Um, what you, there's a specific way to write, and some people are just like, yeah, I'm gonna use the Marvel method. Like, congratulations, you wrote a sort of kind of prosy thing of you're describing what you want, but you're not really writing.
yeah,
Uh,
it's like
and a
me. I
lot of
don't.
people are going off of that, and so they don't understand the craft so much.
Yeah, like I don't know. I know there's some little things I want to put in, some little plot twists. Like mine's gonna be high fantasy with because the one I'm gonna do is going to be a one shot that if it does okay, I'm gonna plan to make it like a world of. I already got the world built up and everything, and all the backstory. I can do that easy enough. It's just telling me, crafting a story that's entertaining, rather than reading it as out of a textbook, is how I'm used to writing it as. So, like, the original story is going to be kind of like a Thermopylae of in it meets a high fantasy world. So that'll be the one shot, and then if it does good enough, then I'll expand it and make some more stories out of it. So I know what I want. I kind of know where the major plot points are. It's just learning the transition and everything that I'm gonna need some help on. So.
Yeah, it's actually not all that hard to do. What all you have to do is, do you know how many pages you want it?
Roughly 48, give or take 10, give or take 5 pages either way, depending on probably more if I can get squeeze
Okay,
some
I'm
more in
gonna
there.
tell you, don't do the more or less thing. You should always go 16, 32, 16, 24, 32, 48.
Oh, okay.
Anything less or more than that, you're not understanding comics. Because the when you add more or less, what you're doing is um, you're not accounting for the medium of comics and how they're printed. Um,
Ah,
because
so
they have to be printed in 8 pages
gotcha.
editions.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Because you're doing double spreads. I get how they're set up. All right, yeah, that makes sense then. So if I were to go past 48, I would have to make sure that it has to be like 64 then.
Yeah,
And 64 is a lot of content to try to fill. So
yeah.
yeah.
You can mess around with it with doing other content, but it's not preferable. Then, as far as actual writing it, plot it out with pages. And usually, what you want to do is you want to set it up so that when you're writing it, you're considering 2 pages at a time. So you go at the first page, you want to get some, like a splash of some sort of what you're getting at, and then the next page is you want to set up something, and then the next page you're going to reveal something, and that's going to bring you into the story. And then whatever that on that second page, you have to realize that on the third page, you're seeing that at the same time, so there can't be really any surprises, and it has to sort of blend with that second page.
Mm. Well, I'll have to set the roughs for get it better, make sure it's gonna hit easier then, because I hadn't even thought about the whole printing process being a partial a point on the story length. So that actually is something. Well, there you go. Something good, something else to plan for. No, so I guess I'll make sure it be 48 rather than 64. Actually, my perks are going to be. I plan to put in like. Did you ever play Elder Scrolls?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, like a couple of the older Elder Scrolls versions, I think they still do it for like the really expensive collector's editions. Give you like a little cloth map of the this is the province that you're playing in. I kind of want to do that for like the world map. So if someone like bids a higher tier, they get like Ultima Online used to do that, where when you get the book, you get like a little folded up cloth map, so you can hear about other stories and stuff like that. Because I really love the lore in world building. So like once the initial story is done, I might do like a little like compendium where it has like just maybe a few minor illustrations and just like more with the lore of the races and how they progressed on through this millenniums to reach the point where we're at in the story and things like that.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm a world builder mostly, so I like building up the world. So I try to train myself not to do that, and so my web novel thing that I do, I started writing that specifically to be like create content, ignore world building, and like just do it as you go.
Gotcha.
Like it's
Ugh.
come out okay so far. A little weird, but decent enough.
Yeah. I guess like that's like me and my when I play tabletop with my brother and buddies. Like that's what I learned. Like they don't really care so much about the lore. They just want to get to the content. You know, they want to get to the fighting and the looting. They don't care that the vampire lord they just slain was, you know, a billion years old, and then he's got other sects that are out there that no, they what how awesome was the armor he's wearing? Can we loot it off of him and his sword?
Yeah, pretty much. But
Yeah,
can we steal his shit? No?
yeah,
Okay, I don't care then.
exactly. Ah, I'm just giving you a heads up. I don't have to roll out of here in about 20 minutes, so I
It's
gotta
alright, I'm almost done with this too, so.
I gotta run to the post office. I promised my buddy I would send him some Star Wars figures because we're hardcore Star Wars collectors. Like we're picking up almost. We've got a network where we tell each other like, hey man, because he's out in Boston, my other buddy's up in Philly, near Philly, and so we're like, hey man, if you see this, pick it up for me. I'll send you a PayPal link. Right. So that's how it's been going down. So I gotta send him some stuff. And we had Toy Fair there a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And it was an absolute amaze balls of the stuff that they said, because they've decided that they're actually going to start listening to their customers for the first time in 6 years for Star Wars content.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, since Disney took over, we think it's they were getting dictated to by Disney to push the new stuff hardcore, which is fine, but it hampered initiatives and new things that were coming out. Like we had all the new characters released, which okay, we're gonna have that, but then they had to release them a second time, again a year later, in the same scale because Disney wanted it done, and Hasbro was having to comply. And that's why we're kind of thinking Hasbro is gonna like not renew the license next year.
Yeah, I wouldn't if I was Hasbro.
Yeah,
And they've been taking a lot of hits because of Star Wars and Disney
yeah,
products.
yeah, they have. And it's, I mean, Hasbro took a two big hits with Lucas back during the Power of the Force 2 era. Well, one was Power Force 2 era. One was when the Phantom Menace first came out, and they way over expected those figures to sell a lot because they thought they were getting a new version of A New Hope, and instead they got old men in robes talking about invasion, and so overproduced way too much stuff. I had to buy back a lot of it. And then in 2012, Lucas was going to re-release all his movies again in 3D, right? And for some reason, because he hasn't owned, he's never actually owned A New Hope. It's still Fox's, and well, now it'll be Disney's because Disney just acquired almost all Fox's assets except for like sports and news.
Actually, I don't think
Uh,
he still doesn't. They don't own that yet. I don't think.
uh,
It's licensed to I think TNT.
yeah, for I think until the end of next year. Yeah, I think that's correct or something like that. Um, and for whatever reason, maybe because he wanted to cash in on the stuff that he owned first, he decided to release Episode 1 first in 3D. And I remember hearing about it because I was like, I put a pause on my Star Wars collecting shortly after Revenge of the Sith, so around like 2005 and stuff. It was my broke years just after college, so I really didn't have a lot of money to deal with. So it really didn't hurt me to just pause because there wasn't really a whole lot new coming out until around 2008 or 9 when I was seeing these sweet figures from the original trilogy be coming out. I just couldn't afford any of it. It was just killing me. And then 2012 comes out, and he's going to reintroduce the movies in 3D. And I was like, oh, that might not do that great. Well, he's only sold 6 of them, so it'll be okay. And then I found out that he was gonna basically strong arm / highly suggest to Hasbro that they need to make figures for the 3D release of Phantom Menace figures again. And so they did, and it flopped, and the toys flopped, and it cost them a ton of money. And coincidentally, later that year, that's when he had to make the sale to Disney. I'm not saying the two things are related. I'm just saying if his Precious prequels would have made a ton of money, which I'm sure he wouldn't be so quick to sell to Disney had they made tons of money in 3D. The 3D concept was too late. I mean, that's 2012.
Yeah, I don't even understand what he was doing all that time, because like he kept on re-releasing the same damn thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, like the Clone Wars was new content, but again, it's set in the Clone prequel era. And I think it's having to do with a lot of the licensing. That's why I think Disney likes using their own characters and their own designs, because you have to pay out for those OT designs to their character to their original licensors back then, because they weren't under LFL. They were under like the original Stormtrooper design. It was made by, I can't remember her name, but she died of cancer between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. But her assistant was a British guy who went to British court and claimed, no, that's his design. And so he basically lied through his teeth and got to win it in British court. So if he wants to introduce anything that has a Stormtrooper design, he has to pay that guy out a certain percentage or a certain fee. So,
well, that sucks.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's or that's how it used to be. I don't know if under the Disney sale that's counted, but I'm sure there's some backloop lawyer talk where like that's why they prefer using their own stuff rather than stuff that would fall under the Fox agreements back then. Like that's why you suddenly had Scarif Troopers, and for some reason you had ACT Trivers that looked like the what were they? The assault tank drivers, just in a different color scheme. Rather than having AT drivers like you normally would have. So.
Yeah, I don't put anything past Disney because, they're Disney and they always do shady shit.
Yep.
Like, they're the reason why all the stuff we think that should be public use
Open.
and fair domain and all like that.
Yeah. They keep getting it because they don't want Disney, they don't want Mickey to ever be public domain. He should have been. So
should Batman, Superman, all of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it is for certain like that version, quote unquote, is what they changed some of the law to. Like, so if you went back to make the original Batman, that's like clearly drawn and like doesn't have any of his cool stuff in it from like the 30s and 40s, then yeah, you can kind of use that version. You just can't like use like anything after 1970, I think 7.
No, it's still all the stuff of him is copyrighted still.
Oh, they got the trademark on that? The rights reserved?
Yep.
That's whack.
It's the same until another 15 years.
Oh yeah?
Something like that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it happens though. That's what, unfortunately, what happens when you let entertainment media roll over political decisioning. And I think that's why a certain person got voted in there a couple of years ago. Just saying.
That's one of the reasons. Hopefully he's gonna be voted in again. I don't think there's a chance he isn't, but...
Well, I'll say that I've never seen more excitement around a president for the positive. I mean, there's plenty of negative too, but there's always people bitching with the presidents every time. But like, it's just people being positive is so refreshing. Like, wow. Like, yeah, I know one side's screeching like, and the other side is like me, like we're kind of moderate in the middle. Because I'm very liberal on many social constructs, and I am conservative on some certain other ones, like military and defense, because my father was in the military. And he let me know from an early age how actual brutal other parts of the world is. I was like, oh. So yes, I have no problem being very conservative when it comes to things like military and defensive spending. But on the flip side of that, I understand that it takes away from civil programs and more infrastructure that we need. So I try to always think about it in how much do we need so we can get these other things accomplished. I've always tried to be like a kind of a decently balanced. I don't know, have different decently balanced perspectives on left and right issues. And some people are just taking things absolutely crazy.
Yeah, way too far with the
You
stuff.
know, is the in Veil War, are they going to have anything political in it? Like, is there like hierarchy of the orcs and stuff and goblins?
There's nothing political planned. But see, here's the thing: is because I'm going to be redeveloping and retelling stuff later on. Like everything that's in the first issue is in the first issue. It's just gonna stay there, and then like about 18, 19 pages of the second issue are already done. Uh, so that's gonna pretty much stay as it is. And then from there, I don't know what I'm going to do. It all depends on whether people want me to keep on working on stuff. Like, I don't even know if I'm gonna put out the second issue unless people want me to. But if people want me to, then I'll have to start developing more and more stuff for it.
Gotcha.
So, what we'll end up having to do is it's going to be talking more about the political infrastructures of, well, world building with the orcs, the goblins, how Camelot has developed since then, that type of stuff. Because
Gotcha.
it's been like 1,000, 2,000 years since they've done anything. So obviously that all has to be discussed.
I gotcha. My story was gonna have light political, like, it'll have like in-universe political discussions, because I'll have, like I said, you'll have battles with different legions and armies, and so they're obviously battling for a reason. So it's not, there is good and evil, and some light politics, but not hardcore or anything. Just enough to where there's a reason that armies need to go fight each other. That's why I don't really want to get into too political. Because I just let's just say, as an early follower of Zach's, it was when he was talking about the stuff. Like, I had already bailed out comics years earlier because I saw it coming then. And so I was like, all right, well, they just decided. So 10 years later, I see Zach on the couch doing potato phone videos. And I'm like, well, they've actually just not even hiding it anymore. Now they're just openly, just trying to dictate to their audience of how people should live their lives. How horrible.
Yeah, it's funny because all the political things that seem to line up in here, in the Veil War, it's just accidental. It's like there's anti-gun. The Veil can be looked at as a wall. There's women trying to take over the world and cause war. It's like, this is incredibly political. My bad, but it was all like just happenstance, and most of this stuff wasn't ever supposed to be looked at in depth because this is more of a prologue of what my idea for this was supposed to be. Because my original concept was like 1,500 years in the future, where all this had already happened, and they're trying to figure out what did happen.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I think it's just because general common sense issues are now becoming politicized. Like 100 years ago, when anyone said we don't need guns in this country at all, back in the just after turn of the century, and you disarm the civil populace, they would look at you crazy. But now that's where people are like, no, we don't need it. Because that's too trusting of a government on local and federal levels. I like governments on federal, but I'm not willing to like turn over an entire life of a civil populace to them. I like some countries are willing to do. It's just I've seen too much corruption to just trust.
Hey, Kuntiga. Hey, Rez. Oh, yeah.
It's me. But
Nope, it's a different person. You can't be the same person.
hell yeah. Well, everyone pronounces my entire name. I'm like, just call me Rez, because that's way easier to remember and it's way easier to pronounce. Just because the rest of it was just my EverQuest name. So,
What, Kai is just the, means king or ruler. Rezi is actually the hard part to remember.
it also means Kai also means spirit and or kindness in certain Eastern countries too. When I was on the EQ, a lot of the Eastern Hemisphere players would come over, and they'd start talking to me, and I didn't have like either Japanese or Chinese caricatures set up on my computer, and so all of a sudden I just get like a bunch of like boxes and squares and stuff come up in the chat. I'm like, oh, what is there voice chat? Is there chat having issues? What's going on? And finally, someone said you got to download their language fonts. And then when I did it later, like all of a sudden they're hitting me with Japanese. I'm like, oh. And so I slowly had to relearn some of my old rough Japanese that I had learned to talk to them. And they were wanting to know like if I was, I don't know, on their time zone or whatever, if I wanted to raid with them. Like, no, guys, no, I just like the name, just like the name. So,
yeah, I had fun with that on Final Fantasy and PSO. Having to learn Japanese and having to figure out what people are saying in that. It's always fun to do.
Yeah, I used to I used to be able to speak real first grader Japanese back in the day, just because I was wanting to learn about it all. Because just like a lot of the old weebs from the '90s, we all wanted to go to Japan and experience, talk about our culture, because it's a part of Tokyo that's really influenced. But it just didn't really pan out. It costs a lot of money to travel. So
yeah, I once had a conversation with someone in Final Fantasy about we both were trying to communicate with each other. He was Japanese, I'm American, and we didn't know enough of Japanese and English to quite communicate with them. So we were we were using English, Japanese, Latin, French, and a few other languages all together and meshed, trying to get what we were trying to say to each other across. Really
nice.
weird.
Yeah, like I said, I can speak just enough to get myself non-lost if I was somewhere like for directions or something. But other than that, I got out of anime back in 2014, 15, because that's when because I just had to take a break from it because it all became real. Moe was just overtaking everything. Well, not everything, but a decent amount. I mean, I don't mind Moe stuff. It's awesome. I mean, I like cute girls. I mean, but
There's
like,
nothing wrong with Moe. What are
I
you
mean,
saying?
I mean, some things doesn't like the Tale of Nobunaga. All right, that was an anime I wasn't watching. It's all the generals get turned into cute girls, and I was like, oh, okay, that's okay, kind of cute. Like, I don't mind harem animes either with lots of cute girls. That's awesome. Like, my avatar is Kodaka Hasegawa from Haganai, and it's like a kind of. Oh wow,
Something's weird with
that's
my
awesome.
picture.
No, dude, save a version of that too. Look at that.
What? That?
That one, yeah, or kind of, yeah. One of these grayscales you're hitting it with, or different
No,
tones.
that's just the shadows and color highlights.
You should save a second version of the Shadow and Tone just to keep an alternate version like that. That's dope.
That wasn't supposed to happen, but oh well.
Yeah. But yes, I got out of it, and I'm slowly easing myself back into it after about 4 or 5 years because I'm gonna see if it's worth coming back to. I don't know. I'm picky and choosy. I was really into it back in the '90s too, but it was a lot more. How can I explain it? Mainstream weeb, I guess, because you only had so many select anime shows to watch back in the '90s because it wasn't like there wasn't about. I mean, they weren't gonna have. You had like Sci-Fi Channel on Saturday mornings or Saturday nights, can't remember what it was, and then you had
It
like
was Friday mornings at one point.
yeah, and then you had well, it's not I can't remember. You had very few options for anime back in the '90s. In the late '90s, you had like Cartoon Network did what was it? It wasn't Adult Swim. It was what Adult Swim came out of. It was
Toonami?
Toonami, yeah. And before that, you were just basically hoping you catch something on. Oh, Liquid Television was a good one. Oh, I love watching the Max. Quintaka. That was I love watching the Max on that one. And the head, with that big huge head thing.
So
That's pretty good.
goddamn highlights.
Ooh, that's number 3. All right, man. I gotta get ready to roll on out of here, man. I'll throw your link in the chat some more in case no one, anyone that wants to take a look at this. Ah, there we go.
This is the first time this has happened to me with this thing.
Dude, that's all. Save all these extra little like changes, dude, because like to like a different template or something, just to
There it goes.
make like
That's
a
better.
background.
Well, no, it's already saved. It's just so.
Eon Flux was also on Liquid Television. I
Yeah,
was in
that
love
was
with
on Stars, I think.
the movie or the cartoon.
The cartoon. I think that was on Stars.
It might have been on Stars later, yeah, because it was on originally on MTV on Liquid Television.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because the director's cut versions are on Stars that has like all the extra dirty stuff in it. Because they couldn't really get too edgy with it because they, were still technically on MTV, but it was awesome shit back in the day. All right, though, man, I gotta get rolling. I gotta something to do, but I'll be around. If you want to just shoot me a DM, we'll see what's going on.
All right.
All right, talk to you later, man.
All right. See you later.
See ya.
If anyone else wants to come in, they're more than welcome to come in. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna stop in a few. If I can remember what I'm going to do next. The background. The link to the Hangout is in the description. I read American Gods, but I didn't see I got up to I think episode 8 of American Gods, and then I just like pieced out on it. It's a decent show. It just didn't follow the whatchamacallit, the story all that well. Let's see, maybe purple will work as a background. It probably won't, but let's see. It amazingly does well as a background. Should probably just delete that layer. Yes. And we'll put that up. I don't know, I think he usually goes with blue, right? Light blue, something like that. That's probably best for Spider-Man. But yeah, American Gods is interesting because it explores like a couple of the Old Norse stuff and the god of like darkness, but who's also the god of light. But they also talk about like what the name of the show is, American Gods, how we've started to make the things around us gods and themselves. Let's see, this worked last time to create a good thing. Get that. Yellow. Oversaturated yellow. Select inverse. And this blue. Now that needs to be darker. Let's see. That doesn't look right. I don't know. Let's see. Select inverse. Use saturated red. Edit. Stroke. 20. Select default. What if we did the no. I don't know. I like the way that it looks like it's sort of coming out, but I don't like the colors, like where it's positioned. Go back to this. Like inverse. Don't bump. Then we that. And select inverse file. Duplicate. No, I don't need to do that. We need to do a global mask of some sort. The fuck? Select inverse. Edit. that, then let's see, what do we do next? Let's see, yeah, we want to duplicate it. Go. Fill 100% there. Cool. Oops. Duplicate layer again. Turn that off. Black. Then we go down here. And let's me come back up here. And we yeah, that doesn't work. Let's see what. Let's see, maybe. Maybe I can do this and fill. And we're gonna come over here and fill. And then here, select, edit, stroke. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay, rethinking this entire idea. Here. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Contiguous, don't care about straight. Now we're going to use separation. a black suit Spidey. A blacker suit Spidey. And we see an error. Select.
Come on in. Come on in.
So let's see where is it. Okay, what's going on here?
Stop.
No, that's not it. So, where's that coming from? It's not showing up either. So,
That's the stop.
select.
Lay down. Bad boy.
Where is that coming from? Is there that one?
Alright, slowly here.
Here?
And
How would that be
probably
found?
moving a little bit.
That's weird. Okay, no.
I'll go 4, 5, 5, 5.
No.
I might as well do 4 hours today and 5 hours Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's 19 hours. I know you gotta pick up your son probably. Your grandson.
I'm doing what they told me to do. I talked to Shirley. Get 4, 4, 5, 6.
On Friday, 6 hours on Friday.
Nope.
Four, 4,
5 and 6. 4, 4, 6 and 5.
4, 5,
That's 19 hours.
4, 4. Okay. So it's
10 to 4. Thursday. 10 to 3. Friday. Yeah, that's what she said.
what is who you say 6 hours?
10 to 4.
10 to 4? Oh.
That's Thursday.
Oh.
Okay.
Because I have other clients.
Yeah, I know you do.
Oh.
I mean, those other
I'm gonna call it a day. So, thanks guys for watching, and take a look at the Veil War on Indiegogo. Thanks. Bye.
So I told her to call you, let you know. So
Yeah.
I won't eat.
Lay down. Bad boy.
4 hours today,
Okay, that's fine.
4 Wednesday.
5 Thursday, 6 Thursday.
Thursday, 6 hours, and Friday, 5 hours, 10 to 3.
Okay.
Why they keep taking your offer?
Well, Wednesday, I gotta be at the doctor's with Aaron in the morning.
Wednesday, I have a client before I come here.
Yeah, I'll try to get half. I gotta go to the guy's office. And tomorrow I got nothing.
Okay. Well, I don't even come to
I know, I gotta go to. Lay down!
Hi, Matthew, how you doing?
Hello. I'm okay.
I'll do your bed Friday.
Okay.